Okay, greetings, family. This is Cassandra Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. So I know that I promised you guys last night we were going to do a book club today, but I'll be honest, I wasn't ready. No, man, no, don't you start. I said don't start. Now you can get down if you're going to act up. So let me just get some housekeeping out of the way. Greetings, Self Spot. All right, so a couple of things. Tonight, what I am going to do is a continued reading of the book that we started a few weeks ago. Greetings, Golden Amethyst 999. So I'm going to read from this book tonight that we started a few weeks ago called Beyond God the Father and Toward a Philosophy of Women's Liberation. We're going to start on chapter 1. That's where I ended the last time that I read. And I told you I was going to separate that out because I did a lot of commentary when I didn't intend to. Tonight, I'm going to try to be more disciplined and not do the commentary, just the read, because we got to get through this book. Plus, the book club that I am going to do, I'm going to do it tomorrow night. After tomorrow night, then I'll start back on my regular schedule of doing the book club every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, and temple services every first and third Saturday of the month. It just suddenly got really hot in here. So that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna read tonight. I'm gonna try to keep the commentary at the absolute bare minimum. For those of you who don't know, I just got back late last night from a 24-hour trip across the country and back. And so I'm still recovering. The other thing, there aren't a lot of people on here yet, so I probably should reserve this, but just for, backtracking, there have been a lot of people, I'll say several people who have told me that they are not receiving notifications on YouTube for the videos. So I did some research, and the most common cause of not getting video notifications is your individual settings on your phone. So the settings will vary depending upon what kind of phone you have, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, because you can click on the notification icon, the bell, when you subscribe, and then you go into the subscription, the little bell, and you click on the bell. A lot of people will click on personal when they should toggle up and click on all. It's another little bell. When you hover over the bell icon, there's 3 settings. And so you have to click on the one that says all notifications for all videos. So check that. And then depending upon what phone you have, you actually have to go into the settings in your phone and make sure that you have the icon in your YouTube app turned on. That's the most common cause of people not receiving notifications, is that in their personal phone, they don't have notifications. They don't have the notifications set up for YouTube in their personal phone. So hopefully that resolves some of the emails that I have been getting from people who are either members or subscribers who have not been getting notifications. You can email me personally and let me know, and we can try to navigate through like what's going on and why you're not receiving notifications. Okay, that's the housekeeping. For those who are tuning in via YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, be mindful of the banner scrolling across the bottom of the screen. This is the way that this is a call on you to like, share, subscribe, but also a call on you to donate. And you have the methods with which you can make those donations scrolling across the bottom of the screen. For those of you tuning in through YouTube, you can also become a member with different member perks. And you also have across the bottom of the screen where you have supers. So if anything that I'm saying to you in this live is hitting you in your spine or, appealing to your spirit, then hit a super chat or super thanks for, I think, $1.99 and $2.99 or whatever. Greetings, C Miles. And I appreciate you for it. Okay. Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And then I will give you the details towards the end. Again, I am going to attempt to be disciplined about the read. If I do any commentary, I'll be a lot more concise about getting through whole paragraphs before I add commentary. But anyway, that's how we're going to try to do that. All right. So for those of you who are just tuning in, again, this is my second attempt to get through this book. It's a short book called Beyond God the Father and Toward a Philosophy of Women's Liberation by Mary Daly. We're starting again on chapter 1, which is called After the Death of God the Father. Quote, the first step in the elevation of women under all systems of religion is to convince them that the great spirit of the universe is in no way responsible for any of these absurdities. End quote. Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The biblical and popular image of God as a great patriarch in heaven, rewarding and punishing according to his mysterious and seemingly arbitrary will, has dominated the imagination of millions over thousands of years. The symbol of the Father God, spawned in the human imagination and sustained as plausible by patriarchy, has in turn rendered service to this type of society by making its mechanisms for the oppression of women appear right and fitting. If God in his heaven is a father ruling his people, then it is in the nature of things and according to the divine plan that the order of the universe that society be male dominated. Within this context, a mystification of roles takes place. The husband dominating his wife represents God himself. The images and values of a given society have been projected into the realm of dogmas and articles of faith, and these in turn justify the social structures which have given rise to them and which sustain their plausibility. The belief system becomes hardened and objectified, seeming to have an unchangeable, independent existence and validity of its own. It resists social change that would rob it of its plausibility. Despite the vicious circle, however, change can occur in society and ideologies can die, though they die hard. As the women's movement begins to have its effect upon the fabric of society, transforming it from patriarchy into something that never existed before, into a diarchal situation that is radically new, it can become the greatest single challenge to the major religions of the world, Western and Eastern. Beliefs and values that have held sway for thousands of years will be questioned as never before. This revolution may well be also the greatest single hope for survival of spiritual consciousness on this planet. The challenge: emergence of whole human beings. There are some who persist in claiming that the liberation of women will only mean that new characters will assume the same old roles and that nothing will change essentially in structures, ideologies, and in values. This supposition is often based on the observation that the very few women in masculine occupations often behave much as men do. This kind of reasoning is not at all to the point, for it fails to take into account the fact that tokenism does not change stereotypes or social systems, but works to preserve them, since it dulls the revolutionary impulse. Oh, listen, let me pull out my pen. I'll read that last sentence again. This kind of reasoning is not at all to the point, for it fails to take into account the fact that tokenism does not change stereotypes or social systems, but works to preserve them, since it dulls the revolutionary impulse. The minute proportion of women in the United States who occupy such roles, such as senators, judges, business executives, doctors, etc., have been trained by men in institutions defined and designed by men, and they have been pressured subtly to operate according to male rules. There are no alternate models. As sociologist Alice Rossi has suggested, this is not what the women's movement in its most revolutionary potential is all about. Now, let me just make a caveat here. For those of you who are just tuning in, or this is your first time hearing me read from this book or anything by Mary Daly, this book was written in 1973. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're listening to what I'm talking about. Some shit will be eerily relevant to 2024, but this book was written in 1973. What is to the point is an emergence of woman consciousness such has never before taken place. It is unimaginative and out of touch with what is happening in the women's movement to assume that the becoming of women will simply mean uncritical acceptance of structures, beliefs, symbols, norms, and patterns of behavior that have been given priority by society under male domination. Rather, this becoming will act as a catalyst for radical change in our culture. It has been argued cogently by Piaget that structure is maintained by an interplay of transformation laws that never yield results beyond the system, and never tend to employ elements of It has been argued cogently by Piaget that structure is maintained by an interplay of transformation laws that never yield results beyond the system and never tend to employ elements external to the system. This is indicative of what can affect basic alteration in the system, that is, a potent influence from without. Women who reject patriarchy have this power, and indeed are this power of transformation that is ultimately threatening to things as they are. The roles and structures of patriarchy have been developed and sustained in accordance with an artificial polarization of human qualities into the traditional sexual stereotypes. The image of the person in authority and the accepted understanding of his role as has corresponded to the eternal masculine stereotypes, which implies hyper-rationality, in reality frequently reducible to pseudo-rationality, objectivity, aggressivity, the possession of dominating and manipulative attitudes towards persons and the environment, and the tendency to construct boundaries between the self and those identified with the self and the other. Y'all stop, man. God. The caricature of human being, which is represented by this stereotype, depends for its existence upon the opposite caricature, the eternal feminine. This implies hyper-emotionalism, passivity, self-abnegation, etc. By becoming whole persons, women can generate a counterforce to the stereotype of the leader, challenging the artificial polarization of human characteristics into sex role identification. There is no reason to assume that women who have the support of each other to criticize not only the feminine stereotype, but the masculine stereotype as well will simply adopt the latter as a model for ourselves. On the contrary, what is happening is that women are developing a wider range of qualities and skills. This is because, this is beginning to encourage and, in fact, demand a comparably liberating process in men. a phenomenon which has begun in men's liberation groups and which is taking place every day within the context of personal relationships. The becoming of androgynous human persons implies a radical change in the fabric of human consciousness and in styles of human behavior. Let me mark that really quick. Let's see. This change is already threatening the credibility of the religious symbols of our culture, since many of these have been used to justify oppression, such since many of these have been used to justify oppression, such a challenge should be seen as redemptive. Religious symbols fade and die when the cultural situation that gave rise to them and supported them ceases to give them plausibility. Y'all, I y'all. Okay, let me just go on. Such an event generates anxiety, but it is part of the risk involved in a faith which accepts the relativity of all symbols and recognizes that clinging to these as fixed and ultimate is self-destructive and idolatrous. The becoming of new symbols is not a matter that can be decided arbitrarily around a conference table. Rather, symbols grow out of a changing communal situation and experience. This does not mean that we are confined to the role of passive spectators. The experience of the becoming of women. Stop, man. The experience of the becoming of women cannot be understood merely conceptually and abstractly through active participation in the overcoming of servitude. Both activism and creative thought flow from and feed into the evolving woman consciousness. The cumulative effect is a surge of awareness beyond the symbols and doctrines of patriarchal religion. Next section. The inadequate God of popular preaching. The image of the Divine Father in heaven has not always been conducive to human behavior, as any prospective reader of history knows. This often cruel behavior of Christians towards unbelievers and towards dissenters among themselves suggests a great deal not only about the values of the society dominated by that image, but also about how that image itself functions in relation to behavior. There has been a basic ambivalence in the image of the heavenly patriarch, a split between the God of love and the jealous God who represents the collective power of his chosen people. As historian Arnold Toynbee has indicated, this has reflected and perpetuated a double standard of behavior. Without debating the details of his historical analysis, the insight is available on an experiential level. The character of Vito Corleone in The Godfather is a vivid illustration of the marriage of tenderness and violence so intricately blended in the patriarchal ideal. The worshippers of the loving Father may, in a sense, love their neighbors, but in fact, the term applies only to those within a restricted and unstable circumference, and these worshippers can justifiably be intolerant and fanatic persecutors of those outside the sacred circle. How this God operates is illustrated in contemporary American civil religion. In one of the White House sermons given during the first term of Richard Nixon, Rabbi Louis Finkelstein expressed the hope that a future historian may say that, quote, that that in the period of great trials and great tribulations, the finger of God is pointed to Richard I guess that's how you say his name, Milius Nixon, given the vision and the wisdom to save the world and civilization, and also to open the way for our country to realize the good that the 20th century offers mankind. Does that sound eerily familiar? Eerily presently familiar? End quote. Within this context, as Charles Henderson has shown, God is an American and Nixon is his anointed one. The preachers carefully selected for the White House sermons stress that this nation is under God. Yo. Like I said, for those of you who are still watching, this book was written in 1973. And for a few years now, but in particular, these last like 3-4 weeks, we have been hearing this quote damn near verbatim. Damn near verbatim. After this fiasco that happened on Saturday, there was some Christian, theologian interviewed on CNN saying that Trump was under God's finger of protection. What did this say? What did Charles Henderson said? That God is an American and Nixon is his anointed one. The preachers carefully selected stress this. Oh, wait a minute. Where did he go back? Hope. Okay. The rabbi said that in this period of great trials and tribulations, that the finger of God pointed to Richard Nixon. That just happened right here in this book. And I just saw a commentator on CNN after this fiasco on Saturday saying that Trump is under God's finger of protection. That's what he said right here in this book in 1973. She said that this rabbi who was chosen to speak a sermon at the White House said that in the period of great trials and tribulations, the finger of God pointed to Richard Nixon. I just told y'all last week, I didn't even know this, but that Ronald Reagan's first bid for president of the United States, he ran under the slogan for his first bid. I saw a commercial from that period. He ran under the slogan, "Make America Great Again." That's Ronald Reagan during his first term as president of the United States. He ran under the slogan, "Make America Great Again." Here, she is saying in 1973 that the rabbi that was chosen, handpicked to speak at the inaugural address of Richard Nixon when he became president, that in the period of, this is a quote, "In the period of great trials and tribulations, the finger of God pointed to Richard Nixon." This is a rabbi saying this, that the finger of God pointed to Richard Nixon, giving the vision and the wisdom to save the world and civilization. She goes on to say that Charles Henderson has shown that God is an American and Nixon is his appointed one. That the preachers carefully selected for White House sermons stress that this is a nation under God. I have been watching TikTok after TikTok after TikTok about all these commentators driving home. There never should have been a separation of church and state. That America is a Christian nation. Blah, 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 blah. Here, 1973. The logical conclusion is that its policies are right. Under God, the president becomes a Christ figure. Is that or is that not what is unfolding in real time during this campaign. This book was written in 1973. She was talking about the Christification of Richard Nixon. The Christification of Richard Nixon in 1973. That the logical conclusion is that its policies are right. The White House. And under God, the president becomes a Christ figure. In 1969, the day the astronauts would set foot on the moon, the day astronauts would set foot on the moon, and when the president was preparing to cross the Pacific in search of peace, one of these preachers proclaimed, quote, "And my hope for mankind is strengthened in the knowledge that our intrepid president himself will soon go into orbit, reaching boldly for the moon of peace. God grant that he too may return in glory, and that countless millions of prayers that follow him shall not have been in vain." End quote. A fundamental dynamic of this theology was suggested by one of Nixon's speechwriters, Ray Price, who wrote, quote, "Selection of a president has to be an act of faith." Oh my God. Yeah. Oh. Yo. Damn. I'm trying to contain myself, y'all. Yep. Fundamental dynamic of this theology was suggested by one of Nixon's speechwriters, Ray Price, who wrote, "Selection of a president. Oh, what a crime. Selection of a president has to be an act of faith. This faith isn't achieved by reason. It's achieved by charisma, by a feeling of trust." Y'all, I read what I just read. Sounds like the evangelical preachers I'm hearing lately. They took out the Pledge of Allegiance just to put in the 10 Commandments. Listen, he said, don't use your reason. Don't use scientific historical analysis to choose your president. Rely on faith and the good feeling of trust that comes from charisma. Price also argued that the campaign would be effective only if, quote, if we can get people to make the emotional leap, or what theologians call the leap of faith. God damn it. I'm trying so hard. Trying so hard to just read this shit straight through, y'all. But when I tell you, that's why your ass is an emotional wreck right now. I've been telling you, but y'all can't hear it from me. You feel me? I'm just a black woman. But when I've been telling y'all that they were about to make gargantuan plays on your heartstrings over the next few years, I started telling y'all this in 2020. That they about to start making gargantuan pulls, playing your motherfucking heartstrings like a harp, getting you all emotionally invested in bullshit, so that they can persevere in the achievement of their hoped and planned for outcome, which is a reestablishment. God damn it. I did a presentation. Hold on. I just told y'all that I read damn near every day, at least once a day. I'm going to go to the Catholic News Network from the Vatican. I'm going to go to the Catholic News Network because I want to hear from the devil's mouth what they the fuck up to. I want to know straight from the devil himself what they up to. I told y'all a year ago. It was a year ago, over a year ago. Reading the Catholic News Network or whatever the fuck it is, their news channel online, that coming out of these peace talks with these other religious leaders of the world, the Dalai Lama was there. They had some Native American representative from the Americas. They had a rabbi. They had an imam, the Dalai Lama, a priest from South Africa. All these men, all these stiff legs, supposed to be the representation of all the spiritual movements, major spiritual religions in the world. They go out to some secret location under heavy guard, under heavy security, to pray for 7 days for peace. That happened. And after all these conglomerations of the stiff-legged figureheads of all the world's major religions, they done, quote, gone to some secret mountain to pray on top of this mountain for peace for 7 days. After they broke camp, the Pope, who facilitated the process, right, called a meeting of all the major bishops globally. Y'all come to Rome, stat. Coming out of this meeting with the bishops and shit, the big dudes in the Catholic Church around the globe, they stated on the Catholic News Network's channel that the chief priority of the global Roman Catholic Church for the next 10 years was the re-evangelizing of the entire planet. He said it. That was a quote. Our goal for the next 10 years is the re-evangelizing of the entire planet. Is it going to look the way that it did the first time they evangelized the planet? Is it going to look like white dudes on ships going out to the colored world, discovering other people's shit, murdering them under the name of the Father? No, it's not going to look like that. It's going to look exactly the way it fucking looks under currently the second only president, Biden, y'all guy, who is a devout Catholic. There are more practicing devout Catholics in the legislature, right? Senate and House of Representatives than there ever has been in the history of the country. There are now 6 sitting justices in the Supreme Court that are devout practicing Catholics, with the chief justice, whatever that dude name, who drafted the overturning of Roe versus Wade, who is an honorary Jesuit priest. And y'all think this shit is separate. Y'all think this shit, the way politics, and then, so you got a sitting Catholic president under Biden who is, quote, supposedly in some contest with a fake ass Christian nationalist. I'm saying fake because Trump ain't never gave a damn about the Bible. Not that I do, but I'm just saying he's never given a damn about the Bible. It is about understanding how to manipulate a population that has been terrified into stupidity. The Bible has allowed for that to happen. You see what I'm saying? So you've got a Christian fascist and a goddamn devout Catholic vying for power over the United States. And y'all think all of these policies y'all talking about are somehow separate. Here, she's saying 1973. And then this thing that just happened on Saturday with he who must not be named, child. With he who must not be named. You understand? If this is not a classic, damn near verbatim rewriting of the hero's journey. You know, the hero, the unlikely hero who's usually a douchebag, undisciplined, relatively not smart. Watch every movie. They start out doofuses, stupid, unempathetic, narcissistic. All of a sudden, through some great trial or tribulation, or some loss, typically caused by themselves, they have the emergence of an epiphany. And now they want to be good. They want to be the good, valiant hero who has taken it upon themselves to shoulder the trials of the world. He alone will be the great one, the great anointed, the great chosen, who is saddled with the white man's burden to save the colored world. How does he save the colored world? By taking away the burden of responsibility. Well, that's what the white man's burden was. That's what the hero's journey is. The only way that I can remove the burdens from you is to enslave you. I'm just telling you what it is. This dude says in 1973, I'm not going, it's so important. I'm not going to make the promise that I'm not going to offer commentary, because what the fuck has just happened, what has been consistently happening, truth be told, but what is most overtly happening now, I'm doing a presentation, it'll probably be part of what I talk about on Saturday for the temple service. But I just did a live last night saying that this is not God making a comeback, right? And the point of that title was to encourage you, was to reassure you that God is not only not making a comeback. This is the wild, undisciplined, unruly, unstrategic, in my estimation, desperation of death throes. We're witnessing God dying. That's what we're witnessing with this bullshit. Fronting, can't even front anymore, cannot even pretend anymore to be a democratic process. This shit that as he said, convincing people, getting people to make an emotional leap of faith to get to them damn polls. That's what he said in 1973. This is a writer for the White House. I say it, I'm being an asshole. Why you don't vote? Why you don't vote? No, I'm being a dickhead. I can't possibly be making that decision on my own of sound mind with sound reasoning. No, somebody must have tainted my mind, you see, to make a declaration like that. Even as y'all beloved Frederick Douglass wrote a whole piece entitled Why I Will Not Vote. From him, y'all can hear it. Y'all can hear it from me. You feel me? Here, the writer for the White House. You understand? The script writer for the White House under the Nixon administration said, the campaign that we running, it'll only be effective if, quote, we get people to make the emotional leap, or what theologians called the leap of faith, to get them to the polls. That's what he said. That's what I've been telling y'all for 4 years, 6 years. Why y'all keep banging y'all head against a rotten, filthy system that now, today, doesn't even have to pretend it's democratic? It doesn't. Where's the democracy in the process? They just yanked away like 15, 20 of your rights. You feel me? Lobbyists run the entire rotten edifice. That is not even conjecture. It's not even a conspiracy. You can literally go to each one of your senators and representatives' personal websites and see who are sponsoring organizations. Who paid them? Who paid them? Who are they getting kickbacks from? Who are sponsoring them? Who are sponsoring their bid, their seat, or whatever? You understand? And from the devil's mouth, he said, Price said, look, selection of a president. Listen, listen, listen. Y'all know it. Y'all hear it all the time. The definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. That's the definition of insanity. I'm an asshole when I say, why y'all been doing this shit over and over and over and over again, and then acting be confused and bewildered when your ass gets shafted in the end? Huh? This dude said in 1973, a member of Nixon's cabinet, a writer for Nixon, said the selection of a president has to be an act of faith. That faith isn't achieved by reason. Faith ain't achieved by reason. He wrote this. This is a quote. This is one of his chief writers who wrote this. This is not me. This is no paraphrasing. This is a quote. The selection of a president has to be an act of faith. Faith isn't achieved by reason. It is achieved by charisma and by a feeling of trust. He goes on to say that the campaign would be effective only if we can get the people to make the emotional leap, or what theologians call a leap of faith. This book was written in 1973. I'm reading it to you 4 days after this bullshitting ass display, scripted, flimsily scripted, I might add, display that took place on Saturday, a day before the Republican National Convention. This was written in 1973. This is 50 years ago. You feel me? So when I say that your ass, through your feeling mechanism, which is what they said they was targeting, that's what he said. He said, this shit ain't about reason. We don't need nobody to be reasoning shit. We don't need nobody to be thinking. We need to pull at they motherfucking, we need to pluck the fuck out their goddamn heartstrings. You feel me? We can only do this through acts of charisma that have them, feeling like they can trust the candidate, that they can completely just put aside his transgressions, his aggressions, his acts of betrayal, political betrayal. Put that to the side, because this speech he just made, man, it just moved me. It just spoke to something deep in me. It spoke to your patriarchy, bitch. It spoke to your white nationalism, and I mean even colored folks, because I'd have met just as many black, brown, red, and yellow white nationalists as I have white skinned white nationalists. So I'm talking about all y'all. It's speaking to your nationalism, your white nationalism. It's speaking to your internalized patriarchy. It's speaking to your hatred of women. It's speaking to your fear of what empowered women will mean for you and the pedestal that you propped the fuck up so comfortably on. That's why you triggered. That's why your hearts, you think it's love and shit. This white boy said, look, the last thing we need is for people to be using their mind, using their brain, using history, understanding history, understanding political analysis. You understand? We don't need them looking back past like 5 years. You feel me? He said, because if reason come into the mix, nigga, you gonna lose. If reason comes into play, bitch, you gonna lose this goddamn run. You gonna lose this bid. That's what he told Nixon. He said, we can't do that shit. We got to be preachers up in this bitch. We got to be theologians. We got to be constantly talking about faith and humanity and these ambiguous words we just throw the fuck around. He said, we got to be using that type of shit. We can't use science, can't use reason, historical analysis. Child, we'll lose this shit. What's the most epic thing that you can do that'll just win the hearts of the most rabid in this country? I got it. Why don't I get a Nick? You feel me? Get somebody like, that can get like a Nick and have the blood spattered across my face. But when it happened, you feel me? Y'all can't rush me away immediately. I gotta have like 5 seconds to do a black power fist. That's what he did. And froze long enough to make sure like 50 cameras got different angles of him holding up the fist. You feel me? Before they whisked him away. This, of course, is precisely the inauthentic goddamn on this night. This, of course, let me read the whole paragraph again. That way I can edit some shit out. Price also argued that the campaign would be effective only if we can get people to make the emotional leap, or what theologians call a leap of faith. This is, of course, precisely the inauthentic leap that Camus labeled as philosophical suicide. It is the suicide demanded by a civil religion in which God, the Savior President, and our nation are more or less merge. When the leap is made, it is possible simply to not see what the great Godfather and his anointed one are actually doing. Okay? Hold up. When you caught up, what did I just talk to y'all about last week when I did that damn live called They Not Like Us and I'm Not Like Them? What did I say? Damn near verbatim. Y'all get caught the fuck up in pomp and circumstance. Y'all get caught up in ceremony, in prostration, in acting. Y'all get caught up in motherfucking theater. Y'all love theater so much y'all can't distinguish fiction from reality. Y'all, that's what's wrong. So when I give it to you blood raw and I ain't got no makeup on and my hair ain't been did for a few weeks, you feel me? It's harder to hear coming from me. It's harder to receive the presence of God, the Almighty She, coming from a motherfucker who just got off a plane and ran in the door at 9:14 to drop bombs on y'all. You feel me? But if I was up in here with my hair up in a do-rag or gala day, and I had on impeccable makeup and flawless skin, and spoke with perfect diction like that of a griot, all rhythmic with appropriate iambic pentameter, and stressing and acting and performing. Oh, y'all, that shit will move y'all. Y'all be like, that bitch real about that life. I would. Have y'all heard about this woman, Cassandra? Oh my God. I can just feel spirit when she up in there with her hair all up in a do rag. What you call it? In a what you call it? You feel me? I'm gonna do that shit one day. I'm just gonna spring that shit on y'all one day. Cause I know that's what y'all need. But I told you that. When I did that live called They Not Like Us and I'm Not Like Them, talking about the political and spiritual betrayal that so many people are experiencing right now and don't have the words to articulate their seething rage, their rage that emanates from grief. How could this shit happen to me again? I was a kid in the church, so I ain't have no choice. That's some shit I had to wade through on my own as an adult. I've been in and out these bullshit ass relationships because I didn't have the language. I didn't have the ideas and the understanding to help me internalize and analyze what the fuck was happening to me in these relationships where I keep attracting the same toxic motherfucker over and over and over again in different skins. You didn't have the language. You didn't have the understanding to help inform you in the very beginning what the red flags actually are, that they're not just, random character flaws, that this is a strategic and well-planned process to exploit. That's all it is. And so I told y'all, 250,000 followers this girl had, Princella. Got all these primarily Black women in this situation where, again, now it's a woman. Now it's a negress who done betrayed them, done led them the fuck astray, You feel me? Got them all confused, all in their feels, not knowing which way to turn. Am I stupid because I followed her? No, you ain't stupid. You did not have enough lived experience and a language to help you to discern the fake from the real. So what happens is when a motherfucker be doing all the extra, the pomp and circumstance, when a motherfucker be doing all the extra, I get it. I do. I debate about this shit all the time. Do I need to do this shit? Do I need for y'all to be able to hear what the mother has to say to you? Do I have to spend an hour in the mirror before I get the fuck up on here and put on some makeup and put my hair up in an updo or some shit? You feel like, do I have to do that for y'all to receive that shit? Can y'all hear her in me? Can you see her in you through me? You feel me? And so that's why I be so resistant about conforming to the narrative of pomp and circumstance, because it has been used so often in so many spaces to betray you. To betray you. It's the only reason. I like to be pretty. I do. I like to get dressed up. I like to get made up. But 99.9% of the time when I sit in front of this computer, that's why y'all don't be getting notifications 3 and 4 days out. You understand? I sent this notification out 2 hours before I did this video because I was like, you know what? I need to do some shit tonight. I'm not going to do this book club because I wasn't ready. I'm not prepared. You feel me? Let me get up on here, make it up to everybody, do a live. And I come off the cuff. I might have bullet points of shit that I want to mention, but I'm off the cuff all the time. And I need to be. I need to be clear. I need to be clear so that if she has an epiphany for you, I have not obstructed the epiphany with bullshit. You understand? I said I wasn't going to offer no commentary, but this reading that we're doing tonight is so timely because I'm sitting here watching y'all go back and forth. Child, I keep telling y'all this shit the police. 90% of the motherfuckers you arguing with on the internet is police. It's police. Y'all ain't gonna get me caught up in that shit. I ain't debating nobody. Period. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Some weirdo got up on my shit the other day writing whole paragraphs about one of my posts, right? About one of my videos, right? Talking about just some dumb shit. A white woman. Just some dumb shit. Here, typical shit. Well, if all women here are God, then why would white women need to bow down to black women? I'm like, the fuck? Where she got that from? Have I ever said that? In y'all recollection? In y'all recalling of every video have I ever said any? As a matter of fact, have I ever said it about anybody? Have I ever said that my expectation is for somebody to bow to me? It is that my expectation is for anyone to bow to us, black women. That's never anything that I've said out of my mouth. Never. What I have said is everybody who ain't black and female got debts to pay to black women. I did say that. I did say that. Unflinchingly, I did say that. And how convenient, white woman, coming up on some black woman shit, talking about the goddess and the ways that she presents herself. The hope that she can restore even in white people for their ability to rejoin the human family. And what you got from that is, I'm God too. So does that mean that I have to bow to black women? We're all a universe in and of ourselves. And therein lies your problem, boo. That's your problem. That's your problem. I have not commented once on any of that bullshit because I tell you, I think it's the police, personally. I do not doubt that there are not white women out there who do not actually feel that way, that actually feel that way and would respond that way if they saw my shit. But this particular person, I'm convinced, is the police. You understand? So I didn't comment. I did leave the comment up, though. because this is what we up against. I told y'all, I've been telling y'all, the people that's going to give us the most problems, Black women emerging, what does she call it? The inevitable emergence of woman becoming. I've been telling y'all, the people who are going to present the biggest problem for us, to stage the biggest opposition to the inevitable emergence of the one, are going to be white women and Black men. I'm just telling you what it is. White women and Black men are going to be our biggest opponents. Those two people have so much to gain from the emergence of the one, and they will be the ones who will most vehemently and enthusiastically oppose her becoming, oppose her reemergence. Now, you can take that shit to the bank and cash it, bitch, because I will. Listen, I'll bet money on that. I'll be rich out this bitch. I'll bet money on that. They will always stage a contest until they see us winning. And then, like the opportunists that they have historically been, switch sides, become turncoats. So you're saying that I owe a debt because of what my dead relatives did to your dead relatives? Honestly, trying to understand. Child, you ain't trying to understand. You ain't trying to understand because you have not been listening to Black people. If that's the conclusion that you can come to, that repetitious, nonsensical shit that y'all continually say. Even if we were to wipe out, say we started 1900, say we started at the end of slavery. Slavery ended in 1865. And from 1865, we said, okay, white people, y'all don't owe us nothing. We all starting together, equals. We all equals right here in 1865 after y'all don't let us loose. There's still a significant, extraordinary amount of debt that you owe. Yes, you as an individual white person. Yes. Yep. Absolutely yes. While this shit is in place, that always, not just slavery, when people are talking about reparations, when people are talking about debts owed, they ain't just talking about slavery. Because you can say slavery never happened. Slavery never existed. 1865, everybody in the United States of America is equal all the fucking sudden. All of a sudden, everybody in the United States equal in 1865. Native Americans included, because y'all don't even talk about them. Yeah, I believe in reparations to the natives. Yes, I do. Sure do. You feel me? From 1865 to today, the theft of Black wealth has been continuous, and it has always been policy. And so you can say, well, we didn't do it. Our government did it. But at the end of the day, you strategically benefit. Let me tell you how deep it is. Because we can talk about gentrification and how seemingly good white people, we're not the agents of gentrification. We're poor too. And so if we see an opportunity to go buy land in a neighborhood that's predominantly Black, then that's our right as Americans. Conveniently forgetting that your whiteness always is followed by the instruments of gentrification. Because when your white self with your white baby and your white stroller roll down the Black ass hood or the Mexican ass hood, the police is behind y'all. Y'all call the police because your neighbors are barbecuing too loud. You don't like their culture, so you bring the police and once the police come, and other pioneers, because that's what y'all are, that's what y'all function as, other pioneers see, oh, the police are down there more and more often, so we safe if we move over. So let us go buy some property cheap. You function as the pioneer. You go out there and you say, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like we done got our roots dug in good into this previously Black neighborhood. It is mostly Black neighborhood. It is mostly brown neighborhood. You feel me? Once we got up in there, and we people of color are always so flattered by the presence of white people that when we see white people move into the neighborhood, we don't even see it. We do not even see it till our shit is gone, till the house that our grandparents bought is fucking gone. You understand? We're so flattered by the presence of white people that we do not even understand until it is too late that one white trendy couple in the flannel, in the flannel shirt with the big, progressive boy beard, and his cute little white wife and baby, who are so we're so progressive that we feel safe in our community. So we're just going to jog in this Black community. You understand? There's a dude on YouTube years ago, like around the housing crisis, but it's hilarious. And he did this video called 7 Ways to Know if your rent is about to go if your rent is about to go up, right? And baby, gentrification is not a lapse in public policy. Gentrification is genocide. It is the genocidal, simultaneous attack on communities and the extraction, theft of their wealth using legislation, law, and ordinances that always benefit some outsider at the person's expense. There's no goddamn way that you can remove 600,000 Black people from the city, not the county, from the city of Los Angeles in 20 years through gentrification and not say that gentrification is not genocidal. It is. And y'all all play a role. You do it at work. You never contest because you internalize that your whiteness entitles you in every space, baby, in every space. That's what your conditioning does. So you go to work, and in your job, your first day at work, they tell you that we have a very strict policy of not discussing your wages with other employees. Who do you think that's for? Who do you think that is for? There's a reason that there has been a historically strict policy of not discussing one's wages with other workers, because statistically, your ass will get paid twice. Yep. The national statistics around finance and earning say so. At least twice what your what do you call it? So, your Black counterpart will make. If that counterpart is male, they'll make a little more. If that Black counterpart is female or some other, they'll make less. But there's a reason that those policies are in place at every job, even goddamn McDonald's. It's against our policy to discuss the wages that you earn among the employees. Because if you white, we have to keep that on the down low so nobody says that we're racist for paying you more than we're paying someone who is similarly situated with a similar background and similar education, but we're paying you more. And y'all comply every single solitary time you comply. That's what I mean when I say you owe, goddamn it. That's what I mean. So you can get your panties in a bunch. You don't have to be here. I am talking to us. I am talking to the ones who will be responsible for restoring this planet to a place that can be something that not only people just exist on, can live and thrive and be well on. And if you don't want to participate in that, that's on you. That's good. But you ain't going to be up on here debating me about my position. Playing conveniently ignorant. Well, I didn't do anything. My ancestors. Ugh. It's the oldest, deadest, most asinine discussion that exists. It's exhausting because of its infants are smarter than that. Toddlers have more common sense than that. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all get caught up on these mantras. These freaking, what she call them? These mantras, these dogmas. What she call that shit? Let me finish reading this book. I ain't never gonna get through this goddamn book. Child, please. Who are you? Who is this? Child, it ain't a belief. Now, what the fuck I'm talking about is doctrinal. It's doctrinal. You understand? I don't look out for my race. I look out for me. I don't look out for my race. Boy, bye. How inconvenient. Yes, Nikki, weaponized incompetence at its best. How convenient for you. You sound like one of those hippies that talk about the world is so bad. It's so terrible how the world is. And so the only solution for me and my family is to buy a little piece of land off grid and just live off the land. You too, dear, are part of the problem. Anyway, that digression I did not intend to make, but I was here for it tonight. So let me go ahead and finish reading what Mary Daly got to say about life beyond the Father God. You understand? Okay. So what did she just say? The Savior President. Child, this is 1973. She said this. She said, this, of course, precisely the this is, of course, precisely the inauthentic. What have people been saying all week? That these clowns do not even have to pretend. They don't even have to fake democracy anymore. Y'all so caught up. Y'all so caught up. Y'all so bought into the madness. They do not even have to. Child, you got regular, everyday, good Christian white people out here talking about down with the Constitution, rewrite the America as a Christian nation, as a Christian state, bring back the 10 Commandments in the classroom. Goddamn anybody who isn't. Okay. Listen, she says, this is precisely the inauthentic leap that Camus labeled as philosophical suicide. It is the suicide demanded by a civil religion in which God, the Savior President, and our nation all more or less merge. When this leap is made, it is possible simply not to see what the great Godfather and his anointed one are actually doing, child. Keep you so distracted, keep you so dismayed and bewildered by dumb, unimportant shit, stupid, unimportant shit. Yo, how many arguments do you get in a day that at the end of the day ain't got nothing to do with the future of humanity? Where we gonna be in 10 years? Where we gonna be in 20 years? What is the world that we are creating in real time for our children and grandchildren and all the other offspring of the planet? How many arguments do you get in? How many comments do you leave on people's shit that at the end of the day have no substance or importance to the future that we say we're trying to create? You understand? And this leap of faith is made by what? God, his Savior President, and our nation to make sure that it is impossible for you to see what God the Father and his anointed one are actually doing. Oh, because goddamn, sometimes I just can't believe. I cannot believe that this is the place that we are in right now in 2024. Sometimes, maybe I give human beings too much credit. I believe we can win. I believe we can take this shit. I believe humanity can save the planet. I believe humanity can come together, even in our differences. Don't mean we have to amalgamate. Don't mean we have to live together. To come together does not mean you got to live together. To come together does not mean to integrate. It can be mutual respect. I don't believe what you believe. You don't believe what I believe. We can't live in the same neighborhood, but we all in this bitch together as a singular body. How can we, in our differences, with mutual respect, ensure that there is a planet for us to survive, not only survive on, thrive on? Our organs do it. The heart is not trying to do the liver's job, even as it may inform the liver or vice versa. The heart is like, look, bitch, this is my job. This is what I do within the scheme of the whole. I ain't trying to do what you're trying to do. You feel me? Anyway, I'm just trying to figure out how we got here. I'm trying to understand how. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand what I'm looking at. You understand? Exactly. Yes. Yes, Java Watson. Like, look, if we can see that when we say that we are one, that's not the end of the statement. We are one in her. We are one in her. that we are supposed to be in this symbiotic relationship with our mother, with the planet. We are supposed to be in this well orchestrated, beautiful symmetry where all can be as they are, and it be a non-antagonistic relationship that guarantees that the whole is well, that the one is well. Us and other creatures and other life on the planet and rocks and everything else that exists on and in the body of the mother can live harmoniously. So I'm trying to figure out how the fuck we got here. How we got to a place in 2024, child. Child, listen, anyway. This leap essentially guarantees that the anointed one and his godfather are constantly weaving webs of deception while plucking the fuck out of your goddamn heartstrings to get you to co-sign on some bullshit. Among the chosen ones are scientists. Listen, y'all. Among the chosen ones are scientists and professors who design perverse methods of torture and death, such as flèche pellets that shred the internal organs of, quote, the enemy, and other comparable inhumane anti-personnel weapons. You understand? Also among the elect are politicians and priests who justify and bestow their blessing upon the system that perpetrates such atrocities. A what? Under God are included the powerful industrialists who are making the planet uninhabitable. These are all God's chosen people, you feel me? Sophisticated thinkers, of course, have never intellectually identified God with a superfather in heaven. Nevertheless, it is important to recognize that even when very abstract conceptualizations of God are formulated in the mind, images survive in the imagination in such a way that a person can function on two different and even apparently contradictory levels at the same time. Listen. Yo. Thus, one can speak of God as spirit and at the same time imagine him as belonging to the male sex. Such primitive images can profoundly affect conceptualizations which appear to be very refined and abstract. So too, the Yahweh of the future, so cherished by the theology of hope, comes through on an imaginative level as exclusively a he God, and it is consistent with this that theologians of hope have attempted to develop a political theology. 1973, this book was written. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about what? A Christo-fascist state. Listen. So too, the Yahweh of the future, so cherished by the theology of hope, comes through on an imaginative level as exclusively a he God. And it is consistent with this that theologians of hope have attempted to develop a political theology which takes no explicit cognizance of the devastation wrought by sexual politics. The widespread conception of the supreme being as an entity distinct from this world, but controlling it according to plan and keeping human beings in a state of infantile subject. Listen. The widespread conception of the supreme being as an entity distinct from this world, but controlling it according to plan and keeping human beings in an infantile subjection has been a not too subtle mask of the divine patriarch. The supreme being's plausibility and that of the static worldview which accompanies this projection has, of course, declined, at least among the more sophisticated, as Nietzsche prophesied. This was a projection grounded into specifically patriarchal societal structures and sustained as subjectively real by the usual processes of producing plausibility, such as preaching, religious indoctrination, and cult. Come on in the room, Mary. Come on in the room. You remember a few months ago, I was talking about this theory. I was trying to work out in my head about how the three, what I call the unholy trinity, the Roman Catholic Church / Christianity, because they both the same. The Roman Catholic Church / Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are the unholy incestuous trinity, right? And how I am convinced, and I've been researching, that every single solitary cult is an orchestration of those institutions to create the perpetual enemy consciousness. Every single cult that has ever existed, I am convinced, is a strategy of the unholy trinity. You understand? You understand? So anyway, the sustaining power of the societal structure has been eroded by a number of developments in recent history, including the general trend towards democratization of society and the emergence of technology. However, it is the woman's movement which appears destined to play the key role in the overthrow of such oppressive elements in traditional theism, precisely because it strikes at the source of the societal dualism that is reflected in traditional beliefs. It presents a growing threat to the plausibility of the inadequate popular God, not so much by attacking him as by leaving him behind. Oh, yo, listen, let me read that again. However, it is the women's movement which appears destined to play the key role in the overthrow of such oppressive elements in traditional theism, precisely because it strikes at the source of the societal dualism that is reflected in traditional beliefs. It presents a growing threat to the plausibility of the inadequate popular God, not so much by attacking him as by leaving him behind. Now, what did I say the other day before I left up out of here? When I did that live last week called this is big, called They Not Like Us Part 2. And I said, y'all give them, and you know who the them is. Y'all give them too much validity. You give them validity. They are valid because of you. They are valid because of your begging. They are valid because of your begging to be in proximity with them. They are valid because you seek validation in the institutions that they erect to demonstrate superiority. You make them valid by going into their spaces to debate them. I don't ever want to see another melanated person on some talk show trying to defend a position. I don't want to do. We validate them. Their proximity to us validates them, validates the state, validates the church. And what did I say? With any narcissist, the only solution is to completely remove the supply, complete cutoff. Disappearance, bitch, change your phone number, change your address, whatever. Complete cut off. Change your email address, the whole nine. That's the only way. Here she's saying the same thing. She's saying the same thing about this image that we hold in our consciousness of what God is and the plausibility of the states that it propels, it upholds. You see? She said, the mission of the women's movement is not to attack men, to attack men in their proximity to their male God. Because she's talking about God. She's like, we don't have to attack God. All we got to do is leave his ass behind. Give him no attention. cut his ass off the supply. You feel me? Few major feminists display great interest in institutional religion, yet this disinterest can hardly be equated with lack of spiritual consciousness. Rather, in our present experience, the woman consciousness is being wrenched free to find its own religious expression. Let's see. Okay. It can legitimately be pointed out that the Judeo-Christian tradition is not entirely bereft of elements that can foster intimations of transcendence. Yet the liberating potential of these elements is choked off in the surrounding atmosphere of the images, ideas, values, and structures of patriarchy. The social change coming from radical feminism has the potential to bring about a more accurate to bring about a more acute and widespread perception of qualitative differences between the conceptualizations of God and of the human relationship to God, which have been oppressive in their connotations. Girl, get down. Stop doing that. Let's see. It can legitimately be pointed out that the Judeo-Christian tradition is not entirely bereft of elements that can foster intimations of transcendence. Yet the liberating potential of these elements is choked off in the surrounding atmosphere of the images, ideas, values, and structures of patriarchy. The social change move, woman. Greetings, everybody that's tuned in. Okay. I had to slow down for a minute because my streamline. Don't be talking to her bad ass. She don't ever want to fuck with me until I get up on this laptop, and then all of a sudden she want to tap dance on the keys. I'm talking to Java, talking about, hey, Tempest girl. Don't be giving her no props. Let's see. The social change coming from radical feminism has the potential to bring about a more acute and widespread perception of qualitative differences between the conceptualizations of God and of the human relationship to God, which have been oppressive in their connotations, and the kind of language that is spoken from and to the rising woman consciousness. I've already suggested that if God, okay, so this section is called Castrating God. I've already suggested that if God is male, then the male is God. The divine patriarch castrates women. As long as he is allowed to live on the human imagination, the process of cutting away the supreme phallus can hardly be a merely rational affair. The problem is one of transforming the collective imagination so that this distortion of the human aspiration to transcendence loses its credibility. Some religious leaders, notably Mary Baker Eddy and Anna Lee, showed insight into the problem to some extent and tried to stress the maternal aspect of what they called God. A number of feminists have referred to God as she. While all of this has a point, the analysis has to reach a deeper level. The most basic change has to take place in women, in our being, and in our self-image. Otherwise, there is a danger of settling for mere reform, reflected in the phenomena of crossing, that is, of attempting to use the oppressor's weapons against him. Come on in the room, Mary. She said, goddess worshiping society is not enough if those changes that lie deep within women that have to be made are not utterly rooted out and transformed. That we'll have goddess worshiping societies that just be on the ass opposite dumb shit of patriarchy. Listen. That's what you confronted with. Let me do another segue. Whether it's this Princella shit that got y'all all up in y'all feelings, legitimately so. whether it's that shit or somebody sending me perpetual video links and Facebook links to some female supposedly that runs some temple called the Yoni Temple or some shit like that, the Yoni Church or the Yoni Temple. Child, one glance at the Facebook page or the IG or whatever it was, I was like, ugh, child, my head be hurting from the madness. And the problem is not the madness, because madness gonna do what it's gonna do. You feel me? The problem is that we need to rapidly teach, inform, unveil mysteries so that women, just like Mary is talking about, aren't their stopping point isn't the goddess or Mami Wata or matriarchy, that they are doing regular, ongoing, disciplined study, reading, learning, writing, to simultaneously exercise the patriarch living in their goddamn brain, while simultaneously nurturing, watering, feeding, growing, developing the emerging whole human that is fighting like hell, waging a whole goddamn war in your goddamn spirit and brain against patriarchy, against the images of patriarchy. You feel me? I know too many women, well-intentioned women, who don't study. All they do is listen to somebody talk about the goddess every now and again, and they think they on game. They think that they can have an informed discussion with someone about what it means for when I say the inevitable reemerging of the one, and it not be some ambiguous, disembodied, mythological bullshit, but a real physical, political, spiritual, material phenomenon that is bound to unfold on earth. Can't do that if you ain't studying. You can't do that if you are listening to others and not fact checking. Don't take my word for a fact check. Feel me? And Princella admits that she gets most of her talking points from a pimp named Iceberg Slim. What sort of advice can you? Oh Lord, I didn't even know that. But I'm just saying, you feel me? What she just said here is, honey, to call God she is not enough. To say, oh, I heard Cassandra read the book Mami Wata, and that shit really spoke to me, so now I'm a goddess worshiping bitch right now. That is not enough. You doing full moon rituals and goddamn collecting your moon blood to offer to trees is not enough. I'm just telling you, it's not enough. You'll be out here still with a white male patriarch living in your head who hates you. Listen, the white patriarch in your head will have you out here talking terrible to black women, doing terrible shit to black women, while still talking about how you love Mami Wata and you a child of Oshun or some shit. I done seen the most malignant, what does she call it? Tokenism and horizontal violence among black skinned women. Now I ain't talking about regular lay people who ain't even on what we own. I ain't even talking about them. They get a pass. You feel me? I'm talking about so-called self-proclaimed conscious women. And I ain't just talking about black women either. I'm talking about all women. Melanated women, white women. We are our own worst enemy in a lot of ways. Because we think, again, it's the pomp and circumstance, baby. It's the wearing of costume. It is the performance of ceremony. It is the performance of spirituality that we think makes us spiritual. We think makes us ascended, self-proclaimed ascended masters. What the fuck? Who says that? Have y'all ever heard me say some shit like that? Calling myself a shaman, a yogi, a priestess. Y'all ain't never heard me call myself any of those things. This is my shit. I founded the temple. I did the work to found the temple of evolutionary emergence. I still won't be up in here allowing y'all to call me mama, mommy, none of that shit. Sister friend. That's how I address everybody who get an email from me. Sister friend or brother friend. We are one in the mother. We are one in the mother. You feel me? Y'all, I will not have y'all calling me no guru. The best I'll let you call me is your mentor. That's it. The best I will let you call me is your teacher. My teacher, my mentor. Cool. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. People on here, I'm a shaman. I'm a master Reiki healer. I am certified in Reiki. I'm certified in 18 different styles of massage and healing energy work. 18. That's not included in my 4 degrees in medicine. 4 degrees in medicine. A master's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees, and an associate's degree in medicine. Y'all won't never have me up in here calling myself no Reiki master. I'm a Reiki master. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway. Yeah. Listen, you reading Women Who Run with Wolves and what you call it, self-initiate and shit, you're missing the mark. You're missing the mark. I'm telling you, you're missing the mark. Those of you who have read The Great Cosmic Mother or have rocked with me when I read The Great Cosmic Mother, that's a good start. And if you ain't doing nothing else other than goddamn full moon rituals and fucking healing baths and cord cutting rituals and shit, you have missed the mark. You missed the mark. I'm just going to tell you, those things are helpful in your journey. They are helpful in your journey of evolutionary emergence. They are helpful. They are helpful tools to sharpen your senses, to sharpen your discernment. They, in and of themselves, is not your spirituality. They are tools used in the sharpening and refining of your whole self, not just your spiritual self, of your whole self. They are tools, no different than the magic wand. Let me pull out this magic wand the sister made for me, because y'all get it twisted often, and I understand why. This is not a judgment. This magic wand here, so powerful, so beautiful. She even made me a beautiful little carrying case for it. Look at that. One of my supporters, one of my listeners, right? With a passion flower sewn on there. It's my favorite flower, right? Beautiful. Is the magic in the wand? That's a legitimate question. Is the magic in the wand? It's beautiful. It's got raw stones on it. It's got tiger's eye and selenite and rose quartz. And what is this one? I don't know what this one is. Somebody know what this stone is? And then beautiful amethyst beads bound in leather all the way down. Gorgeous. With some, what is this? Abalone shell on it. Is the magic in the wand? Is the magic in the crystals? There are elements that exist in the crystals, but is the magic, is the manifestation potential in the wand? So ain't. Whatever weaknesses or strengths you have are going to be focused and channeled through this. This is not where the magic is. This is the tool. This is the instrument. Not just your spirit, your flesh. I tell y'all that all the time. Hell, if you have me tell it, it is a tenet of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Your flesh is just as much a part of the body of God as your spirit is. It is just as sacred. It is just as necessary for spiritual ascension as your so-called spirit. Your flesh is God. Yes, it is. It's not a vehicle. It's not a vessel. It's not some rudimentary thing that you must just survive in until you can ascend. your flesh is God. As much as, and if you have me, tell it even more so than your spirit. The concept of spirit, you do not even comprehend without flesh, without a material experience. Okay. You feel me? And so, yeah, y'all get caught up on pomp and circumstance. The methodical way with which you plot and plan your ceremony. You feel me? On this day, and I am not criticizing, I swear it, I promise. I've done it because it helped. It's a part of the process. It's like learning your ABCs. You don't ask a 3-year-old to write a paragraph or to write a thesis. You teach them the ABCs first. Learning ritual, learning how to execute ritual, learning how to recognize when you see that your ritual has worked in real time. These are all like the foundational stones. It's the crawl before the walk. It's the googly noises before the formation of full words and letters. It is learning the alphabet before learning to construct a sentence. That's what the process is. So those things are important. But it is too easy to believe that the execution of ceremony and ritual is the spirituality, and it is not. It is not. It's not. It's not. You understand? And she said, y'all can keep doing pomp and circumstance. Y'all be out here calling God a she and talk about mommy wanta and still be backwards as the day is long, still be treacherous as the day is long, will still be functioning as female token representations of patriarchy in power. You'll still be out here functioning as patriarchs in your relationships with other women. You'll be out here committing horizontal violence on the regular, talking about I'm a priestess of Mommy Wata. Crooked as the day is long. Crooked as the day is long. Anyway. Some religious leaders, blah, 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 blah. A number of feminists have referred to God as she. While all of this has a point, the analysis has to reach a deeper level. The most basic change has to take place in women, in our being, in our self-image. Otherwise, there is a danger of settling for mere reform, reflected in the phenomena of crossing, that is, of attempting to use the oppressor's weapons against him. Black theology's image of the Black God illustrates this. It can legitimately be argued that a transsexual operation upon God, changing him to her, would be a far more profound alteration than a mere pigmentation change. However, to stop at this level of discourse would be a trivialization of a deep problem of human becoming in women. Beyond the inadequate God, the various theologies that hypostasize transcendence, that is, those in which one way or another objectify God as a being, thereby attempt in a self-contradictory way to envision, girl, ooh, what you want? She ain't gonna let me hold her. Want all the love, want all the affection. Why? She gonna start clawing at me in a second. Oh, you gonna chill? You gonna chill? You gonna let the people see you for a second? Look over there. Look over there. She is cute. That's my boo. This is the longest she's ever let me hold her. Okay. I think they freaked out because I was gone for a whole day and they didn't see me. So they just been all up on me all day. Okay. So let's see. Beyond the inadequate God, the various theologies that hypostasize transcendence, that is, those in which one way or another objectify God as a being, thereby attempt in a self-contradictory way to envision transcendent reality as finite. God then functions to legitimate the existing social, economic, and political status quo in which women and other victimized groups are subordinate. God can be used oppressively against women in a number of ways. First, it occurs in an overt manner when theologians proclaim women's subordination to God's will. This, of course, has been done throughout the centuries, and and residues remain in varying degrees of subtlety and explicitness in writings of 20th century thinkers such as Barth, Bonifer, Reinhold Niebuhr, and Teilhard de Chardin. Second, even in the absence of such explicitly oppressive justification, the phenomenon is present when one sex symbolism for God, and for the human relationship to God is used. The following passage illustrates this point. Quote, "To believe that God is Father is to become aware of oneself not as a stranger, not as an outsider or an alienated person, but as a son who belongs or a person appointed to a marvelous destiny, which he shares with the whole community. To believe that God is Father means to be able to say we in regard to all men," end quote. Come on, boy. Come on. Come on. Oh, hater. All right. When woman whose consciousness has been aroused can say that such language makes her aware of herself as a stranger, as an outsider, as an alienated person, not as a daughter who belongs or who is appointed to a marvelous destiny. She cannot belong to this without assenting to her own lobotomy. Yo. Third, even when the basic assumptions of God language appear to be non-sexist, and when language is somewhat purified of fixation upon maleness, it is damaging and implicitly comparable. It is damaging and implicitly compatible with sexism if it encourages detachment from the reality of the human struggle against oppression in its concrete manifestations. Listen, y'all, that is the lack of explicit relevance of intellection to the fact of oppression in its precise forms, such as that is the lack of explicit relevance of intellection to the fact of oppression in its precise forms, such as sexual hierarchy, is itself oppressive. This is the case when theologians write long treatises on creative hope, political theology, or revolution without any specific acknowledgement of or. I'm telling y'all, I don't know. I hate to do it because in theory, this is a good platform, but every single video I've done for months now has had these kind of disruptions, and they only seem to be getting worse trying to broadcast through StreamYard. So I'm probably going to go back to just doing my live streams directly through YouTube and just figuring out. I really like StreamYard and its ability to easily like do shorts and reels and edits, but I'm sick of my freaking videos always being splotchy and robotic sounding when I have quality internet. So my internet is not the problem. It's got to be the app. So I'm probably just going to go back to just doing live streams directly through YouTube and getting rid of this shit. So that is the lack of explicit relevance of intellection to the fact of the oppression in its precise forms, such as sexual hierarchy, is itself oppressive. This is the case when theologians write long treatises on creative hope, political theology, or revolution without any specific acknowledgement of or application to the problem of sexism, or other specific forms of injustice. Such irrelevance is conspicuous in the major works of theologians of hope, such as Maltman, Panneberg, and Metz. This is not to say that the vision of creative eschatology is completely irrelevant, but that it lacks specific grounding in the concrete experiences of the oppressed. The theorizing, then, has a quality of unreality. Perhaps an obvious reason for this is that the theologians themselves have not shared in the experience of oppression and therefore write from the privileged distance of those who have at best a knowledge about the subject. Tillich's ontological theology, too, even though it is potentially liberating in a very radical sense, fails to be adequate in this regard. It is true that Tillich tries to avoid hypostasization of God through the effort, though the effort is not completely successful, and that his manner of speaking about the ground and power of being would be difficult to use for the legitimation of any sort of oppression. However, the specific relevance of power of being to the fact of sexual oppression is not indicated. Moreover, just as his discussion of God is detached, so is the rest of his theology, a point that I will pursue later on. This detachment from the problem of relevance of God language to the struggle against demonic power structures characterizes not only Tillich, but also other male theoreticians who have developed a relatively non-sexist language for transcendence. Thinkers such as Whitehead, James, and Jaspers employ God language that soars beyond sexual hierarchy as a specific problem to be confronted in the process of human becoming. The new insight of women is bringing us to a point beyond such direct and indirect theological oppressiveness that traditionally has centered around discussions of God. It is becoming clear that if God language is even implicitly compatible with oppressiveness, failing to make clear the relation between intellection and liberation, that it will either have to be developed in such a way that it becomes explicitly relevant to the problem of sexism, or else completely dismissed. In asserting this, I am employing a pragmatic yardstick or verification process to God language in a matter not totally dissimilar to that of William James. In my thinking, the specific criterion, which implies a mandate to reject certain forms of God talk, is expressed in the question: does this language hinder human becoming by reinforcing sex role socialization? Expressed positively, a point to be developed later on, the question is, does it encourage human becoming toward psychological and social fulfillment, towards an androgynous mode of living towards transcendence? It is probable that the movement will eventually generate a new language of transcendence. There is no reason to assume that the term God will always be necessary, as if the three-letter word, materially speaking, could capture and encapsulate transcendent being. At this point in history, however, it is probable that the new God word's essential newness will be conveyed more genuinely by its being placed in a different semantic field than by a mere material alteration in sound or appearance of the word. Since the women's revolution implies the liberation of all human beings, it is impossible to believe that during the course of its realization, the religious imagination and intelligence will simply lie dormant. Come on. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Listen, okay? Part of the challenge is to recognize the poverty of all words and symbols and the fact of our past idolatry regarding them, and then turn to our own resources for bringing about the radically new in our own lives. It is this living that is generating the new meaning context for God, some elements of which can now be examined. Women's liberation and revelatory courage. I think this is the last section I'm going to read. Yeah, this is the last section I'm going to read. I have already indicated that it would be unrealistic to dismiss the fact that the symbolic and linguistic instruments for communication, which include essentially the whole theological tradition in world religions, have been formulated by males under the conditions of patriarchy. It is therefore inherent in these symbolic and linguistic structures that they serve the purposes of patriarchal social arrangements. Come on in the room. Even that they serve the purposes, even the usual and accepted means of theological dissent have been restricted in such a way that only some questions have been allowed to even arise. Many questions that are of burning importance to women now simply have not occurred in the past, and to a large extent in the present, to those with, quote, credentials to do theology. Others may have been voiced timidly, but quickly squelched as stupid, irrelevant, or naive. Therefore, attempts by women theologians now merely to update or to reform theology within acceptable patterns of question asking are not likely to get very far. Moreover, within the context of the prevailing social climate, it has been possible for scholars to be aware of the most crudely dehumanizing texts concerning women in the writings of religious, quote, authorities and theologians, from Augustine to Aquinas, Luther to Knox to Barth, and at the same time to treat their unverified opinions on far more imponderable matters with utmost reverence and respect. That is, the blatant misogynism of these men has not been the occasion of a serious credibility gap, even for those who have disagreed on this point. It has simply been ignored or dismissed as trivial. By contrast, in the emerging consciousness of women, this context is beginning to be perceived in its full significance and as deeply relevant to the worldview in which some authorities have seen other seemingly unrelated subjects, such as the problem of God. Hence, the present awakening of the hitherto powerless sex demands an explosion of creative imagination that can withstand the disapproval of the orthodoxy and overreach the boundaries cherished by conventional minds. Wow! Yo. She said, listen, females, if y'all really about that life, can you withstand the disapproval of the orthodoxy? The driving revelatory force that is making it possible for women to speak and to hear each other speak more authentically about God is courage in the face of the risks that attend the liberation process. Yo. The driving revelatory force that is making it possible for women to speak and to hear each other speak more authentically about God is courage in the face of the girl. Ooh, I'm doing too much. Let's see. The driving revelatory force that is making it possible for women to speak and to hear each other speak more authentically about God is courage in the face of the risks that attend the liberation process. Since the projections of patriarchal religion have been blocking the dynamics of its existential courage by offering the false security of alienation, that is, of self-reduction in sex roles, there is reason to hope for the emergence of a new religious consciousness in the confrontation with sexism that is now in its initial stages. The becoming of women may be not only the doorway to deliverance which secular humanism has passionately fought for, but also a doorway to something that is a new phase in the human spirit's quest for God. This becoming who we really are requires existential courage to confront the experience of nothingness. All human beings are threatened by non-being. In Tillich's analysis, the resultant anxiety surfaces in relation to the threat of fate and death, guilt and condemnation, and meaninglessness. While Tillich analyzes courage in a universalist humanist categories, he does not betray any of the relevance of this to women's confrontation with the structured evil of patriarchy. I am struggling that at this point in history, women are in the unique sense called to be the bearers of existential courage in society. People attempt to overcome the threat of non-being by denying the self. The outcome of this is ironic, that which is dreaded triumphs, for we are caught in the self-contradictory bind of shrinking our being to avoid non-being. Ooh. Whoa. The only alternative is self-actualization in spite of the ever-present nothingness. Part of the problem is that people, women in particular, who are seemingly incapable of a high degree of self-actualization, have been made such by societal structures that are products of human attempts to create security. Those who are alienated from their own deepest identity do receive a kind of security in return for accepting very limited and undifferentiated identities. God damn. Listen. The woman who single-mindedly accepts the role of housewife, for example, may to some extent avoid the experience of nothingness, but she also avoids a fuller participation in being, which would be her only real security and source of community. Submerged in such a role, she cannot achieve a breakthrough to creativity. Many strong women who are worn out in the struggle to break out of these limits before reaching the higher levels of intellectual discovery or of creativity. The beginning of a breakthrough means a realization that there is an existential conflict between the self and the structures that have given such crippling security. Damn. This requires confronting the shock of non-being with the courage to be. It means facing the nameless anxieties of fate, which become concretized in loss of jobs, friends, social approval, health, and even life itself. Also involved is anxiety of guilt over refusing to do what society demands, a guilt which can hold one in its grip long after it has been recognized as false. Finally, there is the anxiety of meaninglessness, which can be overwhelming at times, and when the old simple meanings, role definitions, and life expectations have been rooted out and rejected openly, and one emerges into a world without models. Woo! This confrontation with the anxiety of non-being is revelatory, making possible the relativization of structures that are seen as human products and therefore not absolute or ultimate. It drives consciousness beyond fixation upon things as they are. Courage to be is the key to the revelatory power of the feminist revolution. Okay, struggle against self. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. The next section will be struggle towards self-transcendence. I will make a couple of announcements that I made at the opening. There are several of you who are currently on who have been saying that you have not been receiving notifications for the videos that I've been posting. And so I researched it. You need to do two things. You need to go into your YouTube and look at where you subscribe to my channel and toggle over the subscribe to make sure that the bell is at all. There's all, there's personal, and then there's none, no notifications. If you only have personal highlighted or selected, you won't get notifications because I'm not doing personal videos. You have to make sure that you're going in and selecting the bell that says all notifications or all videos, something like that. If you already have done that, go to whatever you're using. If you're using an iPhone or if you're using an Android, you actually have to go into your settings app on your phone, search for the YouTube app in your phone, and make sure that your notifications in your phone is actually turned on. And the same applies if you're tuning in through a laptop. You have to go to your personal computer's laptop's settings to make sure that your YouTube access for notifications is actually turned on. If that does not work, after you try those two things, if they do not work and you're still not getting notifications for the videos that I'm posting, email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. I watched a ton of videos today on the possibilities of why you can't be getting notifications. So, and I checked all my settings. So all my settings are on point. But if that doesn't work, let me know via email and we'll work one-on-one to try to figure out why that's not happening. Okay. That's one thing. Two, hey, Elemental Witch and Girl, you're going to have to catch the replay. You way late. I'm like wrapping up right this minute, but I'm glad to see you here. Also, I encourage you to most definitely like, share, and subscribe. Especially share. Share. If something moved you, it is going to move somebody else too. Make the commitment that I, as an individual, am going to share my favorite Daughter of the Fates video at least 3 times this week, or at least 5 times this week, or at least 10 times this week. I'm going to share it with individuals. I'm going to send it in a text. I'm going to send it in an email. You feel me? Make that commitment to share. Okay. Also, those of you who are tuning in via Facebook or YouTube, you can see scrolling across the bottom the different methods that you can use to make contributions to the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I encourage you to do that. If you're tuning in from YouTube, you can also send a super chat or super thanks or whatever. And you can become a member through the YouTube channel. And there are different tiers to the membership. Okay, cool. So that's all I'm going to do for tonight. Before I go to bed tonight, I am going to go ahead and create the event for the Pure Lust study that we're going to do tomorrow night. That's our temple/book club study. After this week, I will be back on regular schedule with doing every second and fourth Wednesday as the book club and every first and third Saturday as the temple service. Okay. So that's going to happen. I'm doing a temple service this week because I think I missed last week. Right. So I'm going to do a temple service this Saturday. And then after this week, the calendar will reset. Second and fourth Wednesday for the book study, first and third Saturday for the temple services. Okay. But y'all will be getting notifications for that. The book club, however, is going to be on Zoom. The book club is going to be on Zoom. So email me tonight if you want to participate in the book club. My Zoom subscription, I think I only have, I can have up to 25 people in the Zoom at one time. So that's totally a first come, first serve thing. So email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. Come on, girl. releaseheartcenter@gmail.com and put book club in the subject header so I can know what you're reaching out for. If you are trying to get readings done or complete wellness consultations done, same thing. Email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com this week, like every week from now until forever, really. But this week in particular is a good week to schedule yourself a reading. So if you want details about how to get a reading, because the full moon is this week. The full moon is this week. So it's an epic week to schedule yourself a reading. If you're interested in getting a reading, email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com, reading or consultation in the subject header, and I will get back to you within 24 hours, less than that typically, but within 24 hours. We can go ahead and book you a reading. Like I said, this week is an epic week to get a reading. And I think that's all that I have for you. So tomorrow night will be the Zoom. I'm still in the process of posting a lot of previously unposted recordings that I have. So for those of you who are not going to be participating in the book club discussion tomorrow via Zoom, I will still have a couple of videos that I'm going to post tomorrow that will be new to you, even if they're old. Okay. So hopefully this was informative. This was helpful to some of you. And you can say bye to Storm, his little fat, cuddly self. Bye. Bye. He's so cute. He's cute. I know. He's a little squishy, but look at him. Ooh, he's so fine. And let's put you down. Come here. Whoop. Come here, Tempest. Her little temperamental self. I think they were bored. They just played with my grandbabies for a week. And so them being back in a house that's completely quiet most of the day got them all discombobulated. So this is Tempest. Say bye. Bye. Okay, girl. Okay. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow, whether that's via the Zoom or whether that's via the, whether that's y'all watching old videos that are new to you. Okay. So yes, email me tonight because I'm going to do the event set up for the book club. Oh, and the one last thing I will say is if you have already become a member of my YouTube channel, there are 10 of you who are currently members. So like you have a subscription to my YouTube channel. You're a paid member of my YouTube channel. Please email me because there's no way for me to contact you based on your subscription to my YouTube channel. So please email me if you are currently a member. There's only 10. So if you're currently a member of my YouTube channel, please email me tonight if it is at all possible at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. And at the subject header, say member or YouTube member, right? Because the Zoom, the book club, I was charging for the book club. I will continue to charge for the book club. But if you are a subscribed member to my YouTube channel, I will allow you to participate in the book club at no additional charge. Okay. So please, if you are a member, please make sure you email me ASAP so I can send you a direct link to the Zoom tonight or tomorrow, whenever I send it out. Okay. All right. Thank you, Michael Johnson. I appreciate the feedback. Thanks everybody for your comments and participation. Yes. And I might do for the day of the full moon. I haven't done it in a while. I was doing like one question tarot reads. So I might do that this week. I think the full moon is on Friday, like it peaks on Friday. So I may do that. If you are interested, if you think that that's something you might be interested in, I think what I was charging was like $11.11 per question, and you could ask up to 3 questions. And so I might do that. I might do like a 2-hour live where you can ask one question for a contribution of $11.11. I'll pull a card for you, talk to you about the card, keep it pushing. So if you're interested in that, shout me out, throw a hands up, a fist or whatever, and I'll plan to do that on the full moon. That way, even if you're not paying for a full read, you can at least get a significant question answered on a live feed. All right, this is fun. I'll see y'all later. I'm about to go grab something to eat. You feel me? Post up, watch some TV, try to finish recovering from this crazy trip over the last 24 hours. All right, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for rocking with me.